The rain poured down in heavy sheets that evening, drumming against the cracked windshield of Ethan Walker's old pickup truck. He squinted through the wipers that squeaked in protest, their rubber almost worn out. It had been another long day at the auto repair shop, 12 hours straight, grease-stained hands, aching back, and barely enough to cover rent. He wasn't complaining, though. Every drop of sweat he shed was for Lily, his 7-year-old daughter, the brightest part of his world. As he pulled into the small gas station just outside downtown, he noticed a sleek black Mercedes parked awkwardly near the curb, headlights still on, door slightly open. The contrast between his rusty truck and that luxury car made him instinctively think rich people problems. But when he saw a figure slump out of the driver's side, his concern overrode the judgment. A woman, maybe in her early 30s, stumbled out, holding her heels in one hand and clutching her handbag like it was a lifeline. Her expensive dress, satin, probably, was half soaked by the rain. She looked lost, disoriented, and very drunk. Ethan sighed, grabbed his jacket, and stepped out. "Ma'am? You okay?" She turned sharply, her mascara running slightly, and stared at him like he was a hallucination. "Who are you?" she slurred, trying to stand straight but failing miserably. "Just someone trying to help," Ethan said gently. "You shouldn't be driving like this. Do you have someone I can call?" She gave a little laugh, bitter and hollow. "Someone? I have 100 employees, but not one person to call." Ethan frowned. She looked familiar, though he couldn't quite place her face. Then he realized she was Olivia Kane, CEO of Kane Industries. He had seen her photo in business magazines while waiting in the dentist's office. The youngest female CEO in the city, known for being ruthless and brilliant. And now she was drenched, half-drunk, and crying beside a gas station in the middle of nowhere. "All right, Ms. Kane," he said softly. "Let's get you home safely." She tried to protest, but he guided her gently toward the passenger seat of his truck. The smell of whiskey clung to her, but beneath it was the faint scent of expensive perfume. She blinked at the torn-up upholstery, the stuffed toy Lily had left on the seat, and the faint smell of oil. "This isn't your Uber, is it?" she muttered. He smiled faintly. "No, ma'am. Just a dad trying to help." On the way, she mumbled half-coherent sentences about betrayal, loneliness, and how success meant nothing if you had no one to share it with. Her words were fragmented, but they struck something deep in Ethan. When they reached her luxurious penthouse building, the guard immediately recognized her and hurried to assist. Ethan carried her handbag and followed them into the elevator, ignoring the stairs. He helped her to the couch, fetched a glass of water, and set it beside her. She looked up at him, eyes red and glassy. "Why did you help?" The next morning, Ethan was back at the shop, tightening a bolt under a customer's hood when his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. "Mr. Walker," a crisp female voice said. "Yes, speaking. This is Olivia Kane. You helped me last night." Ethan froze. He wiped his hands with a rag. "Ah, yes, ma'am. You were drunk." "I know. Don't remind me." Her tone softened slightly. "You left a note. No one's ever done that for me before. I wanted to thank you properly." "That's not necessary," he said quickly. "Too bad. I don't take no for an answer." "Lunch. Today. My driver will pick you up at noon." And just like that, she hung up. At noon sharp, a black car arrived outside the garage, drawing curious stares from Ethan's co-workers. They teased him mercilessly as he climbed in, still in his worn denim jacket. The restaurant she chose was one of those places where the napkins looked like art. Ethan felt out of place instantly, but Olivia greeted him with a smile that was surprisingly genuine. Gone was the cold CEO mask, she looked human, tired but softer. "I wanted to thank you," she said, stirring her coffee. "If it weren't for you, I might have ended up in a ditch or, worse, the news." "You're welcome," he said simply. She studied him. "You're different, Ethan. Most people either suck up to me or avoid me. You didn't even recognize me at first, did you?" He shook his head. "Didn't matter who you were.
You needed help.
Something flickered in her eyes.
Something he couldn't quite name. You have a daughter, right?
Lily, she asked, surprising him.
How do you?
I saw her drawing in your truck. The little card with "Daddy's my hero" written in crayon. He smiled sheepishly.
Yeah, she's my whole world.
They talked for hours about her struggles building her company, his struggles raising a child alone, the quiet loneliness they both carried. For the first time in years, Olivia laughed freely. And Ethan saw not a CEO, but a woman who had lost touch with simple happiness. By the end of lunch, she said, "You're a good man, Ethan.
People like you remind me there's still kindness in the world."
He just smiled, not realizing how deeply his quiet decency had already touched her heart. Weeks passed, and their paths kept crossing, at first by her invitation, later by mutual choice. Olivia would stop by the repair shop, sometimes bringing coffee or lunch for everyone, surprising the mechanics. She even helped Lily with her homework once, sitting cross-legged on the dusty floor, laughing like she hadn't in years. Ethan found himself drawn to her warmth, hidden beneath her armor. She, in turn, found peace in his simplicity, in the way he looked at her like she was just Olivia, not a headline. One evening, as they walked Lily to the playground, Olivia suddenly grew quiet. "You know," she said softly, watching the sunset, "that night you helped me, I was coming back from a board meeting.
My fiancé had just left me.
Said I was married to my company, not him."
Ethan listened silently.
"I drank because I hated myself," she continued.
"And then you showed up. A stranger who didn't want anything. Just helped. You changed something in me that night." He met her gaze. "Sometimes it just takes one small act of kindness to remind us we're still human."
She smiled faintly.
"You gave me that. And maybe I'd like to give something back." He raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?"
She turned to him, her voice trembling slightly.
"Come work for me, Ethan.
As head of vehicle maintenance at Kane Industries. You'd have benefits, a proper salary, stability for Lily."
He was stunned. "Olivia, It's not charity," she interrupted. "You're the most capable, honest man I know. And I could use more people like you in my company."
He hesitated, then smiled slowly.
"If you're sure."
"I've never been more sure of anything," she said. That night, as they stood outside his small apartment, Lily ran up and hugged Olivia tightly.
"You're coming for dinner tomorrow, right?" Olivia knelt down, smiling. "Wouldn't miss it for the world."
As she stood, her eyes met Ethan's. The rain began to fall again, soft this time, almost familiar. She laughed and reached for his hand. "Ethan Walker," she said, her voice warm, "you helped a drunk CEO get home once. But what you really did was bring me back home, to myself." He squeezed her hand gently.
"Then maybe it was meant to be."
And as they stood in the rain, the poor mechanic and the powerful CEO, it no longer mattered where they'd come from. Only that kindness had built a bridge between two lonely hearts, and on that bridge, they found something neither had expected.
A beginning.